Our mask is off, you smashed exhaust, no brakes at all. We breaking all these chains upon our brains. All these mysteries explain, they never really wanted change. Say we
Uncut Live Productions. Music is courtesy of Lady
I never
C.
explain, I'm switching it up, I'm changing the game. I told them I would, they think I'm insane. I know that I ain't. This hip
Yours truly, y'all know what it is. It's your boy, Mr. Uncut himself. Welcome to Uncut Live Productions. As y'all know the motto or the mantra for Uncut Live, we focus on mind, body, soul, spirit, faith, politics, community, entertainment, you name it. Nothing is off the table. We keep it 100 on 1,000. We will not be paused, edited, or muted. Whatever you hear, see, the cards lay on the table. And y'all already know Uncut Live Productions is always about the community. We are a people platform for the people, by the people. That's just how it is. But it's no show with Uncut Live without the co-host of the host.
Ramsey Brown, that's right. I'm here. Uncut Live Productions, here with my brother Kenny. That's right. Ramsey Brown. As my brother said, it's always uncut. It's always 100 to 1,000. We say 100,000 trillion. Yeah, that's what we do. Always for the people. Back to my brother.
So we're always about the community, right? And we know what's happening within the nation's capital. The nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And so we have a guest today. His name is Mr. Ari. I hope I pronounced that right. And I'm going to let our host just go right on in.
Okay. Well, my name's Ari Teresa, and I'm an attorney. My law office is located in Anacostia in Ward 8. I've been practicing law for the past 10 years. I've had my practice for 7 years. I do a lot of land use work centered around gentrification. And what I find is gentrification impacts us legally in many ways beyond just land use and zoning. I represented charter schools that are being shut down, represented people who worked for nonprofits that, were mistreating them while they were in the office. So my practice is pretty expansive, but just to say that gentrification impacts the community in many ways, but land use is one. That's a big one.
So you make some very good, valid points about that how gentrification impacts individuals' lives tremendously. I'm forgetting the it's reference to when people who used to be homeless, and I forget the term. I just learned the term, and it's like hard for them because they get pushed and they move.
Mm-hmm.
And they move. I forget the term, but I just heard it. So that's a good, a very good valid point. Would you mind going into detail, what's your involvement, like what you have, what are some of the things that you're trying to do to help eradicate it?
Okay. Well, so I've been working in zoning and land use for about the past 6 or 7 years, and one of my clients was the Berry Farm Tenants and Allies Association, and they were a group of residents that were organized to fight their displacement. And when they went to the zoning commission, they were really mistreated by the government. They were denied certain procedures that were guaranteed to them, and they were pretty much gaslit throughout the whole process. arguing for the zoning commission to consider their displacement from the site, and the zoning commission will come back and say, oh, we don't have to consider those things. Or they'd apply for party status, which is like this special status that you get when you're uniquely impacted by a project, which allows you to present witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, because otherwise you just get 2 minutes to testify. And so basically it allows you to put on a case. And they denied them that initially, saying that they weren't uniquely impacted because people all over the city cared about Berry Farm. So like how they were feeling about it wasn't unique.
Right.
It's like a lot of things they did during the hearing, which is why we ultimately won the case when we appealed it to the Court of Appeals. Like, it was kind of masked off, like all the lies that they were telling during the hearing. It became pretty clear that these were things that they were not allowed to be doing. Nonetheless, they did push forward with the development. As you know, Berry Farm's been empty. The court did find certain things that the zoning commission would have to pay attention to their displacement, would have to, mitigate adverse impacts, would have to ask questions about, you say that you're going to bring back all the residents in 1-for-1 replacement, but you're only building 360 units, but there are 440 families. So ask questions like that, they were supposed to address after the court case. However, the Office of Planning, under the leadership of Andrew Trueblood and Muriel Bowser, has decided to go forward with the redevelopment process through a different procedure than the one that they lost the court case for. So instead of there being a hearing where people are allowed this kind of trial type proceeding where they're allowed to present evidence, they're doing it legislatively or quasi-legislatively through the zoning commission. The Office of Planning has proposed what they call a map amendment, which is basically just redrawing the zoning map for the area.
Gerrymander.
However, when they do that, it's supposed to be policy, right? Which allows them to do it without doing like a whole trial. Like if you could imagine, when they present a bill in Congress, there's no trial. Like they could make a bill for like the dumbest reason, and like it's still legal, right? But I mean, as long as it's not illegal,
right?
But you could make a bill for the most idiotic reason, and you could allow it. But in a hearing, you're supposed to make your the things that you do be justified by substantial evidence on the record.
Right. Absolutely.
And so this is what Berry Farm has lost by them going through this new process. So, I mean, the reason why they were allowed to go forward in the beginning is because, they claimed to have found lead on the site, right? Which made it like difficult to file an injunction. Because it's not in the public's interest, which is a requirement for an injunction for families to be living with lead. So, after we won the court case, that was one of the first things that the city responded by in order to continue pushing people off the site, was to say that they found lead there.
And there was no third party, no independent people to come and actually check it.
Right. I mean, and I went over there like one day, just kind of driving through after they had pushed everyone off the site, just kind of looking at it and walking around over there. And I saw a worker in a truck, and he had a Trump sticker on his truck. And he stopped me and he was like, hey, because he saw me taking pictures, and he was like, did you get that? And I was like, what were you talking about? And he pointed to the tree that had like a crowbar growing out of it, I guess. It was weird. And he was like, yeah, take that picture, it's pretty cool. And I was like, yeah. And so I asked him, I was like, so like, what are you doing over here? And because I told him that I was the attorney for the case, and we had won, but they were developing. He was like, oh, well, I'm just a foreman. I don't know anything about that. And I asked him, I said, hey, Are you guys taking the proper procedures so you don't like ingest lead, because they were demolishing the buildings? And he was like, what lead? He's like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
He's like, what are you talking about?
Got him.
And so like I'm like, okay, never mind then. And I just kept it pushing. But I mean, that's just the games that they play, right? And so now we're before the zoning commission again, and they're saying that they're not going to do it through the same process that they did it before. They're just going to do a map amendment. And a map amendment is literally just saying, okay, Office of Planning recommends to the zoning commission that, right now it says medium density, that you can make it high density, but it has nothing to do with actually what gets built,
right,
who's living there, or anything. So it's just allowing them to do, this is like setting the table for them to do what they want by right, without having to ask for an exemption from the zoning commission through the plan unit development process. Now,
back door.
Right, it's a back door. And but here's the thing with that, legally it presents several problems, because when you do something quasi-legislatively, it's supposed to be policy. It's supposed to impact everyone, like broadly. It's supposed to be broad impact, right? Like it's supposed to impact someone in Georgetown similar to how it impacts someone at Columbia Heights, or similar to how it impacts someone in Ward 8. It's just a broad policy. For example, like when they did the Georgetown waterfront, that's a broad policy. And so they did that through a rulemaking, a map amendment. But here you have 300 residents that have been displaced, and that, have rights vested in them from the Court of Appeals that
they just railroad.
Right. So it's not broad policy. It affects the rights of individuals. And we know who these individuals are. We can name them. It affects them much more than anyone else.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so the argument there is that, this isn't really appropriate for a quasi-legislative proceeding. This needs to be a hearing so we can argue the rights of these individuals, versus like just handling this as like some policy where you're writing like legislation.
I'm trying to figure out how's that supposed to work? What do you mean? Like, I'm hearing the backdooring. That's the first. So it's like, you said they made it legal to do illegal?
Yeah, they're trying to make it so, because right now it's the land zoned a certain way, right? And so the first time they were like, we want an exception. So the developer went through, was like, we want an exception to the rules to do this. We're offering all of this, so please allow it. So that was like a hearing. Like, it was clear, like, okay, party A wants it. Here are the people who are impacted by it. And so, like, it's a hearing. We're going to have a hearing, and we're going to put on a trial. This time they're saying, you guys don't even exist. Right. You developers don't even exist. We don't know what's going to happen on that site. We're just changing the density. This is between the Office of Planning and the Zoning Commission, and doesn't have anything to do with the developer doesn't exist, and the people who displaced from here don't exist. Right. And that's like what they're trying to do through this process. And it's complicated, but it's too bad. It really is too bad that and that's one of the first things that like Berry Farm taught me, like as a attorney that's like budding and growing, was when I was naive when I started. I was like, okay, when I point these things out, which are like so obvious,
it's supposed to work.
Like, they're just gonna respond and be like, okay.
Nope.
No.
they playing chess for real.
Yeah. So like
big boy league.
Yeah. So like, you do that, and like it's a game of cat and mouse. And so like I had to learn like a whole new, area of law to like understand like what they were doing, because this wasn't like the comprehensive plan and just the adequacy of a hearing anymore. This was now you're getting into like Fifth Amendment and rulemaking versus adjudicative proceedings. So you always having to like up your game, because they're up in their game. They're having people from all walks of life coming together, trying to figure out how to get around the
Right.
things that you're doing and still like maintain the illusion of a system that's fair.
So they pretty much walking around like back in the day on the cartoons when you had a little black hole in your pocket where I can just throw the black hole, jump through the black hole, put it somewhere else, and I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's worse than 3 Car Monty going on. That's crazy. Wow. So as far as in,
Can we go on?
yes, I was trying to segue to there. So, well, since you're already in the setting and the mic picked it up,
Yeah.
go ahead and say it since you done did it.
What's going on? It's your boy Don Mox from behind the scenes, Hunter Productions. But yes, I won't jump into the $1 million lawsuit. The people of DC have to know what is going on out there so we can get involved and back this.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
I was just trying to give.
No,
you already did. I was trying to drag so we can. I was trying to build a preface so we can get into it so people can have a more thorough of how tricky it is and why.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, we already did it. I'm in a lawsuit now. You done kicked the can. You done pulled the joint in the back pocket and shoot, let's go.
I'm passionate about it, bro.
I am too, but
Yeah.
Well, the lawsuit came about from numerous.
explain what the lawsuit is.
Well, we
that's what I was getting to.
filed the lawsuit. I guess back in 2018. Now it's been almost 2 years, where we argued that the city government, specifically the Office of Planning, the Zoning Commission, the Mayor's Office, conspired to displace residents and replace them with a certain class of residents, namely people who were 18 to 34 and people who were white and part of like this creative class. And like it's become a lot easier to define the creative class now. Basically the creative class is everyone who's not an essential worker. So everyone who's an essential worker now is not a part of the creative class.
Got you. And
if you're an essential worker, you're not a part of it.
You want to take my seat?
Doc,
Doc. Come on behind the scenes. Just just push. Let me do this.
Uncut Live.
Yeah, hey, look, you see how Uncut Live we really are, huh? No games. It's just about that life. Ooh, we got to do it like, boom.
Hey, so my main thing is I tell the people how much the lawsuit was for.
Well, we filed for $1 billion.
Woo! Wait a minute, it's $1 billion?
It's $1 billion.
I thought it was only $4 million.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
and truthfully, we undershot.
Really?
Should have been more. Yeah.
There's no, and you can't go back to.
Well, I mean, if we go to trial, we'll be able to get somebody to estimate the damages. We'll have experts for that. But
did you hear that, people in DC? $1 billion lawsuit against Mayor Bowser,
the District of Columbia.
The DC of Columbia, right? Okay,
Government.
the District of Columbia have served an injustice to the people.
Yeah.
So, can you go more into depths of that?
Well, it's a lawsuit where we allege 4 counts. One of them is this idea that of party status. So I'm working with Georgetown University Civil Rights Clinic on this, so one of the issues pretty much is that the zoning commission, right? Well, the Office of Planning. Let's start with the Office of Planning. They put out 3 policy documents: the Creative Action Agenda, the Creative Economy Strategy, and the Creative Action Plan DC. And so these started being released like back in, I guess, 2008, all the way through 2014, 2015. I'm not sure. But they released 3 policy documents, and inside the policy documents, it clearly states, in order to grow DC, what we're looking to do is attract people who are 18 to 34, and also attract people who are 18 to 34, and to attract people who are within the creative professions, right? And so what we argue pretty much is that this was an official policy. Like it's on the books. Like they want to grow the city by X amount, and these are the people who they want in the city. People who are creative class workers and people who are 18 to 34. And then they say, in order to do this policy, we're going to look at all neighborhoods that are currently zoned light industrial. And so, as an example, you have those in Ward 6 near like Buzzard Point, like the stadium and all that, where like Navy Yard, all that is, and Union Market in Ward 5. And now they're working on Ivy City. But so like these were like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because I want you to finish explaining, but I want when it be clarified, because people want to. I guess I mean I know, but a lot of people don't understand the importance of why it's 18 to 34. I know why, but I think a lot of people be like, what does that matter?
Well, it's just that they're millennials, and also that you know it's really you're not allowed to discriminate by age in the District of Columbia, and you're not allowed to discriminate by source of income either. And so, but really, like what we're arguing essentially is that you know, they said that this is what they're going to do. They're going to look at these areas that are zone light industrial, which historically, you know, when you think about it, these are areas that are polluted brownfield sites, and you know who lives there. These are like black people, you know, smaller homes. And so these are the neighborhoods that they're targeting to bring in all of these 18 to 34-year-old professionals. And these are mostly working class communities. And so that's the policy. That's what they say they're going to do. Now, when you go to the zoning commission and you look at like actual zoning proceedings that occurred, actually proceedings where people tried to go through this PUD process, these zoning proceedings in Ward 6 and Ward 5 by Union Market and Navy Yard, what you notice is that when there are PUD proceedings there, the zoning commission does not follow its rules. So like that's the unofficial policy. Right. so like because they're trying to achieve the official policy with their unofficial policy.
Yeah, unofficial
of like not following the rules. And
it's
so
like the blue laws and stuff in the South. Where you can't necessarily write it on the books, but it's known.
Exactly. And so one of the things we argued was that whenever opposition appeared before the zoning commission, we looked at zoning PUD applications in Ward 3, Ward 2, Ward 7, Ward 8, Ward 5, Ward 6. Whenever they do it in the areas that you've targeted, whenever someone applies for party status, you either don't give it to them, you don't do it correctly, or you give them a very hard time to get it. Whereas if it was in Ward 2 or 3, where these areas are not targeted, you
just push it through.
Yeah. You push it through. You know, and they do the same thing in 7 and 8. They give them a hard time in 7 and 8 too. So that was one of the things that we argued. And the other thing that we argued is that, you know, the statute requires that the zoning commission collect written reports. So like one of the written reports from different agencies. So like, you know, there's one statute in particular, it's the same statute, right? You know, statute is a few sentences. And one of the clauses in the statute is, you know, if this is in a historic district, then you'll collect a report from the Historic Preservation Office, and you know, you'll go forward. You collect a report from Historic Preservation, and you know, then you can decide whether, then the zoning commission will look at the report and make a decision based on the information on the report. And then the other clause in the same statute says, you know, you have to collect a report from the Department of Housing and Community Development, which is the agency dedicated towards affordable housing, stable communities, prosperous communities. You have to collect one from there. They never so like what they argued was like this statute, and so like we asked many times for written reports from the Department of Housing and Community Development. We asked for one at Poplar Point. We asked for one in Union Market. We asked for one pretty much everywhere we went. Like, where's this report? You know, we want to know how this is going to impact the housing stock, affordability, all this stuff. And they're like, oh, it's optional whether or not we follow the statute. Like, this isn't a requirement. We don't have to do it. But, you know, when you look at it, like, that's not, the statute's not optional, because with the clause with the historic preservation, 35 out of 36 historic districts are in white neighborhoods. You collect the report for shit that's going to impact the shit they care about. But like, when we ask for a report, you don't give us one.
Come on.
And so like, that's one of the counts. And then the other one is, you know, disparate impact. So like this policy that you have of, you know, attracting people who are 18 to 34, of attracting people who are professionals, of attracting of doing that, and then the unofficial policy of like not following your zoning laws,
absolutely,
like has had a disparate impact, and it has. So when you look at the census tracts surrounding, so like there were 97 I want to say 97 PUDs in all of the District of Columbia. 55 between 2008 and 2018. 55 of them were in wards 5 and 6. 22 of them was in one census tract of Ward 5. Yeah, and so when you look at all of the surrounding census tracts, what you notice is it loses half of its black population.
Right.
Yeah, and when you look at the ones in Ward 6, it's the same thing. But then what you also see is that, I don't know if it's a lot. You lose a lot of black people over there. And then, but you also gain like 130% of whites. So it's like, the same through that policy, like you drew a bunch of whites in and you put out a bunch of black people. So that's the other count, and then the other count is just discrimination. I need to look at it again. We got one more. It's 4, but I gave you 3.
So I want to ask this question only specifically for the audience. So about how many families have been displaced from this whole gentrification?
Very fun.
Yeah.
You already gave
from Berry Farm?
You already gave Berry Farm.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's been at least 360 families.
In this Berry Farm.
At least.
So overall, in general.
Yeah, it might be 400
and
something.
so within that 300, because you know I'm very passionate about our senior citizens. I'm very passionate about our disabled persons. Now you may not necessarily have the exact number, but within the displacement, how, like, if you had to come up with a number like as far as senior citizens or maybe, you know, individuals.
I couldn't give you that. Yeah, and they're cagey about the information too.
Yeah,
Department
because they know that if the number's wrong, they're gonna have to do something about it.
Yeah, so it's not like they come up off the.
It's cooking the books. That's why they.
But I think Empower DC is doing like a survey or something. Yeah.
Empower DC need a lot of support.
So, and I'm gonna ask this, and I'm gonna
Shout out Empower DC.
Wrap it up. Do you think doing the displacement of the Berry Farms project that it actually caused more homelessness or kept it?
I think it caused more homelessness easily, and I think it caused more violence.
Yes.
Across the city,
PTSD,
it's like had all kinds of impacts, and it's like we really gotta stop doing development like this, you know, and yeah.
So before we wrap up, where are you now in the process? Like, so the people out there in DC that want to get involved, that want to, you know, see this process move forward. Where are we now in the fight against displacement of homes in DC?
I mean, we're behind the eight ball. like, and like
yeah.
the solution's not legal.
Right,
You
right.
know,
He said that. Yes, he did.
Yes.
Because I was.
I would. Hey.
Well, y'all know we keep it 100 on thousands, so it is what it is, you know.
No, it's just.
It is what it is.
It's not only it is what it is. It's
Yo.
it's with the people and organizing just letting them, like, at some point, like, the people have to just stand up and be like, this isn't going down like this no more.
And I'm already there. So, Mr. Teresa, how can people get in contact with you? How can they back back you in support of the $1 billion lawsuit against DC? Like, we gotta there.
You can look me up on the internet, send me a message. I'm always looking for people who do research or people who are organizers. Like, they're always helpful. Organizers are helpful. Yes.
Absolutely.
So just find me on the internet. Name of my firm is Stoop Law, STOOPLAW.com. You can just Google Stoop Law.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it best right here on the set of Uncut Live Productions. Y'all already know this is not going to be the last show that you're going to hear about the beloved nation's capital. We got a lot of stuff that's going on. We just had a show a few days ago. Prayerfully, that will be released by the end of this week. We have Fred Hill, who's running for Ward 8. We know it's election season. We know that not only is time changing, but it's time for leadership to change. It's time to have people that's for the community, and that's going to be about the community. We're no longer going to just be accepting wolf tickets. And it's time for new change. Time for the stuff to be new. Last words.
My thing is we fighting a treacherous uphill battle for those who I know we keep saying vote with your dollars, vote with your sweat equity, get up. Whoever you vote for, please do your research, and then behind that, don't let it just be here for the campaign time. On both ends, not just for the person who's been who you're voting for, but also for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Please hold anyone that you put your vote. That's your vote. Anyone that you vote for, or vote all that, hold that person accountable. It's your job to do that. It's like people say it's your job to vote. It's also your job to hold your council member, whatever you want to call them. You got to hold them accountable
because that's your tax dollars in their pocket.
Yeah. So I mean, your dollars, your vote, your move, on you.
Wow. Listen. Just like he said, hold your people accountable that you vote for. I'm very passionate about, this DMV region, and we need more people who are willing to step up to the plate and hone their power. The people have the power. And when the people lead, the leaders will follow. And I'm going to say it again. When the people lead, the leaders will follow. Stop looking for the leaders to do it. The power, they work for you. They work for us.
I say power to the people.
Power. They don't. It's not it's like he said. That quote is power to the people for no reason. Understand who you are and whose power is. The power is in your hands. Is in our hands. Once we realize that, we can then move and organize and do what we need to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a hot Bama. Yes, I said hot Bama. I'm gonna quote my big brother, Kamon Freeman. # do something. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Do something.
Absolutely. So.
And as I always say, each one, this election season, and I gotta say this real quick, it's not even just about the vote. It's about looking within to see what you can do to become that change.
Mm-hmm.
Because homeless people, they don't get a chance to vote. They don't have a residence. They don't have time to wait for a politician to get in office.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what it is that you can do, what's on the inside of you. Figure out what you can do, how you can make a difference. Because just as much as you hold the politicians and the officials, rightfully so, because they should be held accountable because they get paid to do their job. That's why you vote them in. They work for you. Always remember that. And I don't care who if it's the Republicans, the Independent, y'all already know. I already told you. I'm part of the unaffiliated party. You vote on principle. Don't vote on party. Vote on principle.
Principle and policy.
Do these policies look like that they represent you? Oh, that's my cue right here. Follow me on Instagram, which is Change Agent Now Forever. Your plug.
We gotta get him first.
I'm just on Facebook.
Cool. Just let him go.
Ari Teresa, ARITHERESA. Yeah. Stoop Law.
Stoop Law.
Yeah.
There you go. We got
Stoop
Stoop
Law.
Law. Ramsey Brown, PHAR 110, Farrell Brown on across most of them, yeah, but PHR 110 is the main on Instagram. Yeah, I'm not gonna do the extensive plug today because it's not about this is an important PSA. This is important.
Facts.
So you know who I am. Check it out. I'm passing over to.
And that's your boy Don Mox. Follow me on Facebook, Don Mox, or IG official _Don_Mox MOXX. We out. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.